Thank you, Kane. Okay, well, like I said earlier, I don't think this is going to be too awful long. It's kind of interesting, but some of you may have already heard it. I don't know, but I liked it, so I did it. Okay. Y'all can turn over to Matthew 13. We're going to be in there most of this time. Going to be talking about the tares. Matthew 13, Jesus talks of three descriptions of heaven, each beginning with the kingdom of heaven is like. It's like a sower, it's like a grain of mustard seed, and it's like unto leavening. And of these three analogies that he made, his apostles asked him to explain one of them. And the only one that they asked to have explained to them was the sower. So we're going to read that first. That's Matthew 13, verses 24 to 30. Parable of the sower. And it starts in 24 and says, Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat, and went his way. And when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So servants of the household came and said unto him, Sir, didst thou not sow good seed in that field? From which then has it tares? And he said unto them, An enemy has done this. The servant said unto him, Wilt thou that we go and gather them up? But he said, Nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of harvest, I will say to the reapers, Gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. So, simple parable, we've all heard it many times and everything. What would you say the tares are? Would anybody like to you say a word if you want? What do you think the tares are? Mainstream Christianity? You're getting all the right answers right on the first time, Diane. Yeah, the tares are, you could call them mainstream Christianity. I usually call them nominal Christians. You could say false Christians. But that's what they are. And I'm going to explain that to you here in the comparison. Because a lot of people would choose this and you say, what are the tares? They say, it's evil people in the world. And it's not really like that. If you look up the word tares in your Strongs, it is called darnel, D-A-R-N-E-L, and it means false grain. So the interesting thing in here that we showed or we talked about was in the beginning of, or in verse 28, at the end it says, Wilt thou that we go and gather them up? And he says, no, don't do that, because you, in gathering the tares, you might hurt the wheat and tear up some of them. So then he says to them, at the time of the harvest, I will tell my reapers to gather the tares first and bundle them. So here's my question with that is, how come they can't tell the difference in the early time, but at the end they can? In the beginning, if you go mess with those tares, you might mess with some of my wheat. Don't do that. But when it comes harvest time, I'll tell the reapers to get those tares out first and then bring my wheat into my barn. The thing there is, darnel is a word used in the Hebrew, and it means, like I said, false grain. And the thing there is, it looks almost exactly identical to a wheat stalk when it grows. So it's hard to tell. You can tell, if in a trained eye, you could tell, oh, this is a tare or darnel, and this is wheat, an actual wheat stalk coming up. But for the most part, you can't really tell. They look identical. But he said that at the harvest, I'll have them take the darnel out first, and then the wheat. What happens at harvest, because now the stalks are full, they've made their fruit, the berries are on the wheat stalk, and there's some kind of fruit on the darnel stalk or top of it there. The difference is this: wheat turns golden brown, the darnel turns black. That's how you can tell them apart at that point. Darnel is also poisonous to humans. The word tare, if you look up tares, it actually says, it calls them vetch. Vetch is a word used to describe these types of plants that grow many times. Vetch is V-E-T-C-H. And it has, I'm not going to get into the Latin name for it and all that kind of stuff, anything like that. But so God says, or Christ is saying in this analogy, the sower says, no, leave these to grow together. And that's what we're doing now in this world. Two Christian peoples living side by side life. That's what we're doing. They claim to be Christian. We claim to be Christian. I like to think we're right. And I see many things where I see how they mess it up. Good intentions, but they mess it up. And it's not just that they're evil. Like a lot of people would say that if you say, what's the tares? Well, it's bad stuff, evil people. Evil people are easy to spot when they do the things that they do. And I thought I'd turn that off. If you live one way, the way of the wheat, you receive eternal life. If you live the other way, the darnel, you receive death eternal. And they live together. The parable would have made more sense to those at the time of Christ because there was an agrarian society. They dealt a lot with planting and harvesting and raising stock and stuff like that. So they would have known this a lot better. They would have jumped right on it and they would have been, oh yeah, tares. Because tares, or he probably used the word darnel, they would have known exactly what he was talking about. Because even now in Israel, it's against the law to grow that stuff. I don't know why anybody would want to grow it, but if it's a poison and all. But even though they were an agrarian society, and I think that they could follow this a little better, they still had to ask him why. They still had to ask him, what are you saying here? Explain this to us. The other two comparisons that he made, the one with the growing mustard seed. It grows huge from such a tiny, tiny seed. And it talks about that the birds rest on its branches. And then the one about the leavening. You put a little leavening into the loaves, and it leavens the whole loaf. The mustard seed becomes life-sustaining. The leavening encompasses it all, and it is in the bread, and it is the bread. It becomes it. And Jesus gave an explanation to his apostles, and he explained each of these. And that starts in Matthew 13, verses 37 through 43. And it says there, he answered them and said unto him, he that sowed the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom. but the tares are the children of the wicked one. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity, and cast them into the furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth, for then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Who has ears to hear, let him hear. So in verse 43, then shall the righteous, I don't want to keep wanting to say they, shine forth as the sun. That is the wheat being put into the barn. That is it being reaped for the master. Verse 41 ends in an interesting way, because it says, gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity. And I believe we all here know that iniquity is the breaking of the law. And that leads me to two places, Luke 13, verses 24 through 27. And it says, strive to enter in at the strait gate, for many, I say unto you, will seek to enter in and shall not be able. When once the master of the house is risen up and hath shut to the door, and ye begin to stand without and to knock at the door, saying, Lord, open unto us. And he shall answer and say unto you, I know you not, whence ye are. Then shall ye begin to say, we have eaten and drunken in thy presence, and thou hast taught in our streets. But he shall say, I tell you, I know you not, whence ye are. Depart from me, all ye workers of iniquity. And in Matthew 7, verses 21 through 23, it says, not every one that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father, which is in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name, and in thy name have cast out devils, and in thy name done many wonderful works? And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity. So this, I kind of look at this whole scenario, this whole parable, is it goes through, and when Jesus actually explains it too, it tells you everything that's going to happen that's coming in the future, the near future, I kind of believe nowadays. But it's almost like it's telling you part of God's plan, a large part of it. The thing is, your call, your duty, your responsibility is to determine if you yourself are wheat or weed. Wheat or weed. Can't say that fast. But that's our duty, to make sure that we stay the wheat and to do what we can for others to try and get them to become the wheat too. Spread the word. It's I think if you read the whole chapter 13, it just deals in this, and I think it was really interesting to put it together and to find out that whole bit about the darnel and how that actually was a word, and it describes as Diane said, it's the false Christians that are living with us. And they need to be able to understand, which we know, he says, I speak in parables so that they can't understand. But if we can get them interested enough, if you can get them to seek enough, then maybe they will become worthy of having their eyes opened, because they're living right there with us. They claim to know Jesus, but they're missing out on so much. And it, again, is our duty to make sure we stay the wheat, to try and get some of the weed to turn to wheat, as God can only do. But we're a tool. So, like I said, this was fairly short today. Make sure you're staying wheat. And Ken, you coming up for another song, right?